Is this recording? I mean, is this on? Because I don't hear it in the theater. How's everyone doing? Oh. Hey, how's everyone doing? Are we good? I'm saying hi. Are we being beamed out to the theaters? Hi, everyone. Just want to say thank you for joining us for this Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce, is he here? Just want to make sure. Oh, perfect. May I introduce to Godzilla Minus One writer, director, and VFX artist, Takashi Yamazaki. Also, Mikey, our translator. Listen, I want to start with thank you so much for doing this Q&A and for doing this event. So everyone in this theater has now seen Godzilla Minus One. I have a ton of questions, but I like throwing some curveballs at the beginning. You've directed many other films. If people who have never seen any of your other films, what's the next one they should start with?
I would like everyone to see Eternal Zero.
Is there a reason?
なんか理由あるんですか？神風のこと、多分アメリカの人神風のことそんなにわかんないと思うけど、神風の真実を描いてると思います。
I tried to depict the truth behind a lot of the kamikaze pilots, which might not be a very well told or spread story.
I read that you became interested in movie making from seeing Star Wars and Close Encounters.
はいはい。そうですね。あの時まだ中学生だったんで、もう本当に多感な時期に劇場にもうほとんど初めてに近い感じで劇場に行ったらいきなりクロスエンカウンターとスター・ウォーズ続けて何ヶ月か間は空いてましたけど続けて見せられてもこれしかないっていうかこういう仕事を絶対にしたいっていうふうにその時決意しちゃいました。
I was still in middle school at the time, so very, very young and impressionable. I think it was almost one of the first times I've been to a movie theater, and I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Star Wars, just going back and forth, and between them I thought, man, this is it. This is the job I want to do.
最初スピルバーグが UFO の映画を作るって聞いた時は僕アダムスキー型のこういう円盤が出てくる映画だと思ってたんです。アダムスキー型っていうねこういう古臭い円盤が出てくる映画。
When I first heard that Spielberg was going to be directing a UFO movie, I thought it was going to be like the Adamski style UFO silhouette.
で、僕ジョーズまだその時見たことなかったんで、かなり舐めた態度で、なんかスター・ウォーズの前に UFO の映画作ったっていう人がいるから見に行こうと思って見に行きました。
And at the time, I still hadn't seen Jaws yet, so I think I was probably a little cocky. I didn't know who this Spielberg guy was, and I thought, well, you know, I'll see something else, a different UFO movie before I see Star Wars.
そしたらとんでもないものが飛び交って、もうちょっと魂持ってかれてる時に、ものすごい巨大なマザーシップが出てきて、でそれが一回ひっくり返るんですね。でもそれ見て自分の人生もひっくり返ったぐらい強い衝撃を受けて、家に帰ってきてからは。自分の母親にいかにこの映画がすごかったかってことを話し続けて4時間ぐらいずっと追いかけ回したんですよ。でも本当にご飯作るからやめてくれって言われたんだけどとにかくすごいでかくて本当の宇宙人が出てくるんだっていう話をもうずっと4時間話し続けました。
And when the flying saucer shows up in the film, the mothership, where it kind of flips, I mean, it wasn't just the mothership that flipped. I think my entire life flipped upside down from that moment onwards. I went home and told my mom for 4 hours how amazing this film was. And she's like, leave me alone. I have to cook dinner. But I said, Mom, you don't understand. This movie is so amazing.
でも完全にボディーブロー食らってフラフラになってるところに今度スター・ウォーズを見に行ったらいつまで続くかわからないスター・デストロイヤーが頭の上を通過していってもう もうなんてものをアメリカの人たちは作ってるんだと思って、もう絶対こういう仕事をやるんだっていうふうに固く心に誓って、卒業文集に将来何の仕事をやりたいのかって書いたところに特撮監督って書きました。
And that's when I was still a little reeling back from the shock of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And that's when I went to see Star Wars and the shot where the Star Destroyer is coming in. And it just felt endless, this mothership. I thought, oh my goodness, what are they making over there in the United States? This is the life I want to live. So when you graduate middle school, you have to write what you want to be in the future. And I put down a tokusatsu director, which is like special effects director.
This is a question I want to read to make sure I get it right. What's cooler, being nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Academy Awards, making a Godzilla movie that many consider to be the best Godzilla movie ever made, wait, or meeting Steven Spielberg and knowing he has seen your movie multiple times.
もう全部すごい嬉しいけど、やっぱスピルバーグ最高。
Well, they're all amazing, but I mean, it's hard to top Spielberg.
神様だから、まさか神様と直に会えるとは本当に思ってなかったんで、もうそれは最高です。
Well, he's like a god to me, so meeting a god in person just seems very surreal.
I saw you with a picture with Spielberg. I can't imagine what that was like for you.
もうちょっと現実じゃないみたいでしたね。どう見てもスピルバーグなんで、最初彼が見つけて、会場で見つけて、あそこにスピルバーグいるよって言ったんだけど、いやスピルバーグいるはずないじゃないかなってずっと言ってて、いや絶対スピルバーグだから一緒にちょっと行ってみましょうよって言ったら本物がいたんですよ。この世に本当にいるんだと思って、ちょっとそのことだけでも感動しましたね。
Well, I still am having a hard time thinking that this photo is real, first of all. So it was at the Oscar luncheon. It was actually me. I was like, hey, Yamazaki-san, I think that's Spielberg over there, like a few tables down. And he didn't believe me. He said, no way. Spielberg wouldn't be here. He doesn't exist. He's a god. And I was like, no, I think that's actually him. Let's go talk to him. So we did, and he actually existed.
なんかディズニーのすごい偉い人と話してて、なかなか話が終わらなかったんで、一生懸命こうスピルバーグの視線に入るようにしてやったんだけど、なかなか話終わってくれなかったですよね。
And he was talking to someone from Disney, and I know who it was. It was Bob Iger. So Bob Iger, Steven Spielberg, and Yamazaki-san's here trying to sneak in between, getting into Spielberg's line of sight, saying, hey, I'm here.
でもたまたまその時ゴジラの人形を持ってたんで、やっと気づいてくれて、おおゴジラの監督かって言って、そこから会話が始まりました。
And I happened to be carrying a scale Godzilla toy with me, and that's when he noticed, oh, hey, what did you do on Godzilla? And the conversation started.
そしたらすごい熱烈にゴジラすごい見て、3回見たよっていうことを語ってくれて、ですごくゴジラの人形欲しそうな目でこうじっとゴジラの人形を見てたんで、プレゼントしたらすごい嬉しそうでよかったです。
And he talked about how he saw the film 3 times, and he was really passionate about it. And I thought I saw him eyeing my toy, and I was like, well, maybe he wanted. So now the little Godzilla found a home at Spielberg's residence.
Switching into more serious questions, you are... this film is the first Japanese language film to be nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Academy Awards. What does that honor mean to you?
なんかまだそれも本当に現実には思えてないんだけど、なんだろうな、なんで入れてくれたのかちょっと分かんないんですけど、おそらく一生懸命やってたらいいことがあるっていうことを神様が教えてくれたんじゃないかなというふうに思います。
Well, that also doesn't feel very real, and sometimes I wondered why we were among the other 4 amazing films that were nominated in the same category. But I hope that the lesson here is that if you just pour in your blood, sweat, and tears into something, that the gods of filmmaking will let you reap the benefits.
5つ作品があるんですけど、上から全部アイレム、白組って書いてあるんですよ。スター・ウォーズ作ったアイレムですよ。 もうなんだこれって思いながらもうニヤニヤしながら何回もその表を見てました。
So 5 films nominated for the category, and if you look at the VFX studios that spearheaded it, ILM, Shirogumi. And here I am thinking to myself, this is the VFX studio that worked on Star Wars, and I'm just kind of smirking as I look at the list.
一度 ILM に映画を見てもらってあと Q&A をやるっていうこういう感じの会を開いてもらったんですけど、ルカスフィルムでその後食事に行った時に実はその10個のカテゴリーのうち5つが ILM だったんですね。で、お願いだから全部辞退してくれたら俺ノミネートされるんだけどっていうふうに彼らに伝えました。
And we had the pleasure of visiting ILM and had a similar screening and Q&A session like we're having right now. I mean, it's amazing to just be at Lucasfilm. But that's when we had dinner afterwards. I told some of the artists, I said, hey, if you look at the 10 films on the short list right now, 5 of them are ILM. So if you guys just withdraw all 5, I have a guaranteed nomination because the nominees weren't announced yet.
の人すっごいニコニコ笑いながら No
with a big smile on their face.
I think you and Stanley Kubrick are the only directors to be nominated as for visual effects. What does it mean to you to have your name next to Stanley Kubrick in terms of history?
そうですね。キューブリックも大変だったんだろうなと思います。VFX を自分でやんなきゃいけなかった。やっぱ2001年宇宙の旅は本当にキューブリックが VFX をやったから素晴らしい映画になったと思うんですけど、予算がたくさんあったらいいなと思います。
Well, I can only imagine the challenges that Kubrick had to go through in his time to achieve the type of VFX that he did. But I think 2001 Space Odyssey was as amazing as it was because he was in charge or overseeing the VFX process. The only thing I will have to say to that is he probably had more money than I did to work on it.
I'm sure of it. So one of the things I really want to touch on is there were only 35 people that worked on the VFX, and you did 610 shots in, I believe, 8 months. How?
I don't know. いつもそんな感じですよってだからすごくいろんな人にどうやってやったのって言われるんだけど、実に普通のいつものやり方なんで、俺たちそんなすごいことしたのっていう感じにちょっと今なってますね。だからスタッフが舞い上がってもっとギャラを要求してこなければいいと思いますけど。
So it's interesting because as we've done more of these Q&As, that's a question that comes up constantly. How did you do it? It's impossible. And what's interesting for me is that it's not too different from what we usually do on all of our other films. So there's no really sensation of us doing something completely revolutionary. We're just doing what we usually do. So if I do have to say one thing, maybe our team should kind of rise up and see how they're being complimented so we can ask for more money.
I am 100% sure that if you make another Godzilla movie, you will have more money.
東宝ピープルがあの辺にいるんで。
The Toho
I
people
just
are
want to
there.
make sure all the Toho people in the theater heard that.
I am very curious. There are so many shots in this movie that are so impressive. But which shot was, pardon my language, the ball buster?
でもね、やっぱ背びれがチュンチュンチュンチュンチュンチュンチュンチュン I like it.
When Godzilla's fins begin to protrude as he's charging up his atomic breath, I think that's my favorite shot.
違う映画作ってる時に思いついたんですけど、もうこれいけるわと思って、ちょっとその映画がしばらく手がつかなくなったぐらい興奮しました。
I was actually in production on a different film at the time, and when I had thought of this idea, oh, this is it. This is how we're going to show Godzilla's atomic breath. I was quite distracted for a few days on my other film.
One of the things I'm fascinated by is the editing process, because it's where it all comes together. So how did this film change in the editing room in ways you did not expect?
そうですね。結構日本の撮り方だと、あんまりマスターショットを撮るっていうよりはこうカットごと撮ってって最終的なものを頭の中で組み立てながら撮っていくんですけど、まあ思った通りの映画になっていきましたね。撮って作った編集室では一番びっくりしたのは、音楽と効果音を入れたロールを最初に見た時で、おお、なんかゴジラじゃんって思いました。
This might be a byproduct of how Japanese productions operate, but once you have the screenplay and storyboard, a lot of the overall film structure is kind of set in stone there. So what I had built and imagined in my head was quite well executed in the editing room. Although that being said, one of the big surprises for me was when you add the music and effects, and then it dawned on me, this is a Godzilla film.
Did you end up with any deleted scenes?
ほんのちょっとですね。ほんのちょっとありますね。かなり撮ったまんまです。わずかにありますね。はい、
Very few, very, very few. Almost everything is as it was shot.
そう後で思いついたのは、大戸島で深海魚があった時に、その夜結構敷島がみんなにすごく優しくされるっていうのを思いついて、みんなでいやどこなんかもう行かなくていいんだよ、この島にずっといろっていうふうにみんなに慰められてる時にゴジラが襲ってくるっていうバージョンを終わってから思いついたんです。で撮り直したかったんだけどちょっと予算的に無理だったんでできなかったんですけど、それは小説版を書いたんでそっちに入れました。そうしとけば本当よかったなと思ってますけど。
There was one scene, however, on Odo Island in the beginning when Shikishima lands. I had a scene in my mind. I thought of it after we were done with production, so unfortunately they wouldn't let me shoot pickups. But it was when the other mechanics and crew was kind of consoling Shikishima, saying, "Hey, man, it's okay. The world's almost over. You don't have to do the kamikaze thing." And they were very kind to him, which is when Godzilla comes in and just smashes everything. But we couldn't put it in the film, so I did sneak it into the novelized adaptation of it.
A lot of people, when I said I was looking for questions, I think the number one question was, when can they own this on 4K? So when can they own it on 4K?
I don't know. Toho people there.
Throw it over to Toho Studios.
When it comes out, I know we're here to celebrate the theatrical release, but when it comes out for home viewing, will it have the black and white version and the color version?
Toho people. でも多分入れてくれると思いますよ。豪華バージョンが出て、その中には何でもかんでも入ってるんじゃないかなと思ってますけど。
But I can only imagine there will be a version that has everything, like the super duper deluxe version of Godzilla Minus One.
Are you saying that as someone who knows, or as someone you're hoping?
希望です。
As someone who's hoping for it.
Got it.
でも絶対やると思う。
But I remain confident that it will happen.
東宝が一回作ったものを無駄にするはずがないですね。
Because Toho is the kind of company that will try to use everything they've got.
Smart. When you saw the shooting schedule, what day did you have circled because you were so excited to film something? And what day were you like, how are we going to film this?
Mm. あのやっぱ怪獣映画っていうと逃げ惑う人たちなんで、人が一番楽しそうだったの、楽しいなと思ったのは、わーってみんなが逃げてるところで最初敷島と典子を追っかけているカメラ、ドローンがぐわーっと前景まで上がるっていうのをすごいやってみたかったんですね。それはすごい楽しみだったし、あと典子が電車からぶら下がるところはちょっとどうなるかすごい楽しみでしたね。
When you think of a kaiju film, of course, you need people running away from the kaiju. So in my mind, I was really excited about when Shikishima and Noriko are just running through the city surrounded by other civilians. We had a drone shot planned where we're pulling away and ultimately going to a very, very wide shot. The other one, of course, was I was wondering what it would look like when Noriko was just hanging from that train. So I was excited about those two shots.
あと、神殿ができた日、神殿という途中戦闘機が出てくるんですけど、それの実物大モックアップができた日はもう本当に楽しみで、早めに現場に行ってずっと神殿見ながらうわって見てましたね。
And the other one was the Shinden, the fighter that shows up towards the end. I knew that we were building a one-to-one scale model of that, so I was so excited. I got up early, showed up on set early, and was just gazing at it.
大体あんまりこう心配なシーンはなかったです。 CG がどうなるかっていう心配なシーンはありましたけど、現場的には大体出てくるものみんな好きなものなんで、毎回ワクワクしてましたけど。
And I don't know if there's any days I really dreaded, so to speak. And I knew that when we were on set, some scenes were going to be a challenge once we got to post-production. But everything we were shooting on set that was practical. And I don't think there was anything that was like, oh my God, how are we going to get this? We liked everything we got.
船べり、実はいっぱい船出てくるんですけど、船べり1個しかないんです。セットとしては。それ最初見た時はちょっと呆然としましたね。やっぱこれで全部やるのかと思って。10種類ぐらいの船を全部同じ船べりで撮影しなきゃいけなかったんで、それを見たと僕がオーダーしたんです。船べり1個作ってくれれば全部 CG でなんとかするからオーダーしたんだけど、本物見た時は本当に船べり1個しかないんだと思ってちょっと呆然としました。
Although one moment that had me a little concerned was when we built the practical set for the deck of the ship. And this was per my direction and orders. We had just enough budget to make a portion of a deck. And we used that one deck to shoot all 10 ships, all the battleships, everything you see. And I told the crew, we're going to extend this in post-production with VFX, so just get me one small set. But then when I actually saw it in person, it dawned on me, wow, how are we going to turn this into 10 different ships?
I'm curious, there's a lot of super fans in this theater and a lot of super fans watching. What do you think would surprise people to learn about the making of Godzilla Minus One?
Making アキコは本当に赤ちゃんだったっていう2歳だったっていう。
Well, Akiko, the girl you see in the film, she was really a baby. She was actually 2 years old.
だから眠くなっちゃうと撮影が止まるんです。
So the whole crew, everything stops when she gets sleepy.
で、泣きそうになると、なんか泣きそうになってるからシーン撮ろうって言ってみんながタイミング合わせて、泣いたって言って泣くシーンを撮る。
And we got really good at sensing when she was about to cry. So whenever, guys, I think it's coming. We all take our positions and get ready to film the shots where she's crying.
彼女は女王様でした、その間は。
So during the shots where she's in, she became the center of it. She was the queen.
すごいシリアスなシーンで、アキコが泣いちゃいけないところで、すごいものすごく大事なシーンを撮ってる時にアキコがノリコの方を見なきゃいけないシーンで、ノリコの後ろでスタッフがアンパンマンが出てくる映像を流してるんですね。で、 アンパンマンマーチが流れながら現場すごいシリアスなシーンをやってるっていうものすごいシュールな風景があって面白かったです。
And there was a very serious scene where we didn't want her to cry, and it was a really important part of the drama. So Akiko was supposed to look over at Noriko, and we couldn't get her to look over. So there's a kids' TV program in Japan called Anpan Man. And right behind Noriko, who's doing this super serious performance, we had this like kids TV program running just to get her attention. So everyone's in super serious, and it was a very surreal picture if you looked at that on set.
I read that originally that was going to be a boy and not a girl.
はい、yes, yes, yes, yes. すごくたくさんの子たちをオーディションしたんですけど、やっぱ2歳だとみんなカメラの前に行くと固まっちゃうんですね。で、唯一アキコをやってくれた子だけが僕のオーダーに少し対応できたんで、もうこの子しかいないと思って女の子に変えました。
We auditioned a lot of kids, and they were all to age, so they were all 2 years old. And when they're in front of the camera, they oftentimes just freeze up, and they can't take direction really well. Akiko was the only one who was able to somehow respond and give me something I can work with. So it was during the audition process that we changed her from a boy to a girl to match the cast.
Are there any Easter eggs in the film that you want to point out to people?
ちょっと思いつかない。ごめん、思いつかないな。
Let me get back to you on that. I can't think of anything right now.
Sure. I have other questions.
他に質問
So let's see where we can go with these questions. I'm going to go fishing. You've talked about a sequel to Godzilla Minus One. Do you think this will be your next film?
次ではないですね。次は違う映画を作ります。で、その先にあるかないかですね。
Well, I can tell you it's not going to be my next film. I already have a next film in development right now that I'm working on. But will it be the one after that? That remains to be seen.
What is your next film? Got it. So I know we're here to talk about Godzilla Minus One, but if you were to make a sequel, do you think it would take place like 5 or 10 years later, so the characters could have developed a little bit more?
そうですね。作る年に合わせたいですね。3年後に作るんだったら3年経ってる、4年後だったら4年経ってる感じの、今のキャラクターのその続きが見たいです。
Hypothetically, if there's a
Of course.
Godzilla sequel, then I would like to date it with how long it's been in our timeline as to what the characters have gone through. So if we film it 3 years from now, I would set it 3 years from Godzilla Minus One.
その頃にはアキコも少しお芝居できるようになってると思います。
And I hope that by then, Akiko has worked on her acting a little bit.
Obviously, I'll drop it after this, but how much have you actually thought about the sequel and what monsters you might want to include?
ねえ東方の人がいるんで
It would be difficult to say with the Toho people in the room right now.
They actually left. They're not here anymore.
言えない。言えないってことはきっと何か計画があるのかもしれないですね。
But if you look at it a different way, the fact that I can't say might be good.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. What is it actually? What has this experience been like for you? Because I would imagine there are many American people, studios, filmmakers that now want to meet you and talk to you. So do you think you could make an English language film? or do you see yourself staying in Japan?
うん、作りたいものが何かによりますね。これから作りたいものがどっちがふさわしいかによるし、でも本当にびっくりするほどの人たちがいっぱい電話かけてきてくれて、会いたいって言ってくれて、本当にこれはゴジラが開けてくれた扉だと思うし、せっかく開けてくれたんでそこに入ってみたい気持ちもあるし、ちょっと怖いんで閉めたい気持ちもあるという感じですね。
Well, it would depend on what I want to make at that time and what the different projects, how they develop, what they require, and if it's a better film to be produced using English cast, then that'll be the case. But regardless, I think Godzilla's played a pivotal role in opening this door. I have a lot of interest, to your point, a lot of people that I've had conversations with that wanted to work together. So I have to give thanks to Godzilla, of course, but because Godzilla opened this door, I feel a slight obligation to walk through it and see what's on the other side. But at the same time, it's a little scary, so sometimes I want to close it.
What does it mean to you? I believe Godzilla Minus One is the highest grossing Japanese film in history in America.
うん、まずものすごくたくさんの感謝をアメリカのお客さんに伝えたいです。作品の評価だけじゃなくて、みんなが来てくれたから興行収入がある程度いったっていうことは、僕の本当に未来の道をすごくたくさん増やしてくれたと思うんで、まずは感謝したいです。
Well, first, I want to say thanks to everyone who went to theaters to see Godzilla Minus One, because to your point, it's not just the critical acclaim, the box office success. In addition, has again opened up many doors, many paths. So that's thanks to all the moviegoers out there.
What is it? When did you actually realize that this was becoming something special and that it was really that people in America were like going crazy for it? Because this is not the norm, what happened with this film.
最初予告編を公開した時に、なんかすごい英語のリアクションがいっぱい来て、何が起こってんだって思いましたけど、まあこういうこともあるならゴジラだしって思ってたんですけど、プレミアに来たんですね。プレミアをやらせてもらいに来たら、そしたらもうなんかレッドカーペットの両脇から「たかしって言われて何が起こってるんだと思いましたけど、その時にちょっとあれもしかしてなんかすげえこと起こってんじゃないのっていうふうに思いました。
Well, when we released the first trailer on my social media, I started getting a lot of reactions and responses in English, and I thought to myself, what's going on? That's a little weird, but I guess it's Godzilla, so that kind of thing happens. It was actually during the LA premiere when we rolled out the red carpet, and I was doing some photo ops, and everyone's going, Takashi. That's when it dawned on me, wait a second, like something's happening.
This is not about Godzilla, but I'm just curious. This is a real curveball. Okay. Years ago, you directed Space Battleship Yamato. I grew up loving Star Blazers, Spaceship Yamato. And I think it would be an amazing TV series, not just a movie, like what are your thoughts on Yamato, Space Battleship Yamato being a TV series? What do you think?
僕はもう本当に子供の時に僕もやっぱりヤマトのアニメーション版を見て育ったんで、いろいろあれ結構いろいろ紆余曲折があって僕のところに来たんですけど、その時に次の映画を作ることに決まってたんです。だけどそのプロデューサーにもうお願いして、とにかくヤマト来てるからヤマトやらせてくれって言って、ちょっとスケジュールずらしてもらってヤマトをやったぐらいヤマトは好きです。
As a kid, I was watching the anime as well, and Yamato has a very special place in my heart. So through a very odd twist of fate, that project was actually presented to me. And at the time, I already had a different film that I was scheduled to direct and beyond. And I told the producer, can we just somehow shift this? Like, this is Yamato. I really got to do this. And he helped make it work.
だけど、もしあれがテレビシリーズになったら多分すごく面白いと思うし、やっぱり長く時間をかけて語るべき、本来は長く時間をかけて語るべき物語だと思うので、テレビシリーズになったらすごいですね。
But I think if there is a TV series, that would be a lot of fun because the story, what that franchise has, is something that should be told over a much longer experience as opposed to a single film. So I think it would be really interesting.
I just brought this up in this theater in front of these many people because I really think it should happen, and I'm putting it into the universe. You know, why not? So for everyone who's been watching at the other theaters, I really want to thank you for coming out to see Godzilla Minus One on the big screen one last time. And for everyone here in this theater, I have a little bit of an announcement, but we'll do it after the cameras have stopped rolling to the other theaters. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, Takashi Yamazaki. Oh, wait.
Thank you very much.
I need to make an announcement. Wait, can everyone grab a seat, please? Thank you. So, an announcement.